Hey everybody, so I'm Daniel, co-founder of Productboard. Little story to start here. So I was leading engineering at Productboard for about 10 years. It was one of the first Czech unicorns. We built a SaaS platform, but at some point after 10 years, I got pretty tired, pretty exhausted from building this company, and I thought that I'm no longer doing the best work of my life, not doing a good job, and I was not very happy. But there was an opportunity for me to step out of the role, and also if you're here that helped with the transition. But then the hired head of engineering that allowed me to step out and take a sabbatical for a while. And so for a year, I moved to Spain, to Girona, and I started cycling all day to really clear my head, and it was great. I started racing on a bike, and but after 3 months, I realized that I'm really like starting to be bored, not building anything, and I had this urge to come back and start building something in my free time. And initially, it was like a couple of hours a day, and started playing with AI and started training my own models and building a lot of the like classical machine learning stuff. And but over time, as the models get better, I started building different AI products. And at one point, one example is I started working with this Tour de France team here for cycling. I built AI platform for them to analyze all their training and medical data, nutrition, and all the race results to help them optimize all the trainings and the strategy so they could be more stages to the fast. And so that was all fun. But again, at some point, I started to be bored. There wasn't any like enough AI engineers for me to chat about AI in Girona, and so I got a search to actually come back to Product Board and figure out how we can rebuild their company as AI first. And so that was last summer, and I came back after this year. So it was about this time last year. It's like, okay, so what's the situation? Well, there wasn't really a strong adoption of AI coding tools throughout the company. We still had this SaaS platform. It was generating quite a lot of credit revenue, so that was good. But in my head, I was already thinking, hey, but SaaS is probably gonna die soon. It's not the future, and we need to build completely new product from scratch. That's gonna be AI first. And I really wanted to make sure we won't make this mistake of like bolting a little bit of AI on top of our SaaS platform, because that was built for the way how product management is done today, not how the product management will be done in this AI first product management era. And so I had this, challenge in my head, like, let's rebuild everything. Let's rebuild the org. Let's rebuild all the processes. Let's adopt AI across all the roles. In this talk, I want to talk a little bit more about how we adopted AI for engineering. Maybe there is a later different talk about the product itself. That's pretty exciting as well. But let me talk about engineering. And then we went through these 3 stages, and throughout the talk, you'll hear that there's much less numbers than you see in the three prior talks, because I approach it very qualitative play with a lot of things that don't really scale really well, but work for us. And really the first one was for us to make sure that we have at least one engineer that can actually ship well with AI. Because really the classical problem that I seen as I came is that there was all these leadership projects like, hey, we should adopt AI for coding. There was all the discussions about what metrics we should use. There was already GetDX as a platform to measure it. Back then it was pretty cool. We got it was telling us we have 70% of code generated by AI on commits that were from 2018. So probably not very precise. And all the token consumption and TR throughput. It was a mess, and it was like, okay, management is asking politely engineers, hey, go use this AI supposedly to be great, and engineers saying like, yeah, we tried, it's not great, it's actually quite a disaster. It's not producing great code, like we don't like it. And when I was talking to them, like, they're super smart people, and what they love to do is they love be efficient and impactful, right? So they have motivation to use those tools unless they truly feel like they are not getting the productivity that they're promised. And so really what I wanted to make sure that we have first at least one person. In the end, I took on me this role, but it can be any ideally certain engineer that will go and lead the path by showing, hey, you can actually be proactive, you can ship a lot of features, but not just ship a lot of code. You can be impactful through those features being high impact for customers. They might even have significantly less bugs than what you're normally shipping because you can do a good hardening to the ways how do you build a feature, and you can cover up more edge cases and all of the right. And so there was this period where I was trying to myself a lot of things to everybody to see, hey, you can actually do it. There's always like it takes this time. There was in previous talks mentioned several times like there is this date. Like you need to understand that it's almost like if you're an engineer transitioning to engineering manager role, like you need to throw away a lot of the skills you had before and you were praised for maybe, or you valued, and you need to learn a totally new set of skills to do this really well. And so you'll feel very unproductive for maybe 2-3 months even, and you need to be okay with it. I think one practice for me personally, like a behavior that I adopted, and then I was teaching everybody that was coming on board as well, and I found very helpful was this kind of this process is that if you had a prompt, a coding agent to build something, and then you observe what's the result. Like, is the code good? Would I approve it with PR? Like, does it look like our code? Because if without bugs, is the architecture good? You go through it and you judge it, and then if you are not satisfied with the result, you should kind of resist the urge to go fix it, resist the urge to prompt further the agent to go and fix it, learn from it, and observe why it happened. And what were the reasons why there are such mistakes? Is it because maybe we don't have good documentation for the architecture patterns that are supposed to be used? Or is it because we don't have good EVAPA, like a good linters in place that would prevent that? Or is it because my prompt wasn't very good and I need to improve it? Or is it because the stack wasn't good? Or is it because the context windows already filled with all the crap I've written before and now like it's out of context? And so go and analyze that situation and understand why it happened and why the output wasn't as good as it could be. Scratch everything, revert everything that was written, and make adjustments, and run it again. And it's going to be slightly better, but still not perfect. And do that again. And expect that you'll be extremely slow doing this. So maybe your productivity will be 1/3 of what it could be, but you're making sure that those mistakes that happened for the last time, or maybe like a year last time. Obviously, sometimes they can appear again, but this is like a compounding effect of making sure that the agents are getting better and better and better. And so this was super helpful for everybody to really understand if there are failures in the output. Often it's not because the LM wasn't strong enough. It was because you provided not enough context or sort of explain. So that was key indeed in this context. So the next step was to build around me a team of champions that would help me spread this knowledge, but also help me optimize all the other code bases across the Productboard. If dozens of code bases, a lot of different stacks. So making sure that it works across. It works for data engineers. It works for infra. It works across front to front and the end. And so I picked specifically from each team people that were the farthest ahead, and we had this pretty intense 6 weeks kind of project where you'd have calls even multiple times a day, try to figure out, okay, how do we optimize all the code bases we have for all the calling agents we might use, Cloud Code, Codex, few others. How do we make sure that we have good solid foundations of linters to be more than double the number of linters we use, especially things like making sure we don't have any warnings. Agents don't care about warnings at all. It needs to be error or it doesn't matter. Making sure that really agents can test their work very quickly. So we went from ESLint to Oxlint because it's like 100 times faster, and so they can run it much faster, making sure that there's good ways how agents can test against APIs with the running servers. They can test against browsers, like your front end. They can go through the browser and test, and making sure that all those things work and we have a very solid set of skills. I'm already talking about this. Yeah, be a very good set of skills for how to write implementation plan, how to write a spec, how do you validate, harden the code that they are pushing. And it was great because also, because given there was one champion party that was like the person that was then spreading the knowledge in those teams and making sure that all the teammates had somebody that knew how to do it well, they can be around. And the third step was, okay, now let's scale it across the whole organization. And I would say the first question is like, okay, how do we measure this, right? Because we look into metrics, they were giving quite weird information. It seems like everybody's really using it. And when I ask people, everybody was really using it. Like everyone was telling me how it's awesome, how it's working. But really, what was the most helpful thing for me to actually is to sit down with individual engineers for 20 minutes, and I asked them, hey, okay, so show me the coding agent you are using. Walk me through all the conversations you had in a past week. And I managed to go through like 40 engineers first week, like went through this, and it was extremely insightful because often there are people that would claim they are using it a lot and they're really good at it. But then when I went through the actual conversation and see what they are doing, it was sort of token based. So I wouldn't be able to catch it even looking at the metrics. And I would say especially lately, there was this point about like why is the token consumption rising so quickly, even though impact isn't. I blame a little bit Anthropic because I think the product strategy since the beginning of this year was how do we allow our customers to give us more money? They always say one, so let's allow them. And so a lot of the features, even though like a slash loop and agent keys and slash fast and all these things, and so yeah, slash loop obviously, all these things, they allow you to burn through a lot of tokens, but the skill isn't there necessarily. And I see, for example, if there is this from Karpati, the auto research library, right? So they was quite popular, the programmer as well, and they are building AI agents, and so we have a lot of evals. And so the first idea you had is like, okay, let's hill climb eval set. Right? So we have 300 evals, we have these tools for this agent, it's not performing super well. Well, let's run on an agent that is generating hypotheses how to improve either the harness or the evals, and then let's do experiments and like the whole auto research thing. It's so incredibly expensive. You can burn easily thousands of dollars in one night just for running the evals. And I'm not even counting the agent that's doing the orchestration. So actually sitting with the engineers and pair programming pair programming was the single most impactful thing. And it is essentially like what do you do on what are the hackathons. That's why there was such a positive insights about the hackathon so far. But for us, it's like very consistent. Fair programming is the number one thing that's for us is the most effective, because that's how you see how people think about, for example, if you're working on a feature, how you can break it down into a lot of different parallel tasks. You can parallelize and things like that. And so that was for us probably the most impactful overall. And the last thing, obviously, we got in this situation where people felt like, now we got it. Yeah, we know how to do it. It was like at the beginning of this year. And obviously, then there's this trap like, okay, yeah, you need to actually continue refining our board flows and making sure that you are constantly looking how to get better. And so we also adopted these, like making sure we have reasons to play as well. And for us, it's also not just about how we code with AI, but it's also for the architecture for our own agents. And so having like competitions, for example, be quite like the Hermes agent. I'm not sure if there's a lot of fans of Hermes, and he's fan. And so just creating like competition who can build the best agents on top of it, and get best learnings from it. So then we see also different harnesses than just those we actually use for coding, and we can learn something for the architecture as well. Yeah, so that's it for us. This was the story. So like, don't demand adoption. You need to prove that you can actually get the impact from it. You need engineer for it. You need to build the foundations, and you need to pair on it and never stop. Easy.
Okay, a couple of questions for Dan, please. Sony has up, so your turn.
Yeah, I really enjoyed your first point about the engineers already having the incentive to use the tools, yet not using them. And I'm fully aboard on that. Yet when you said that, I was like, do you have any cases against that? Like, if you had to play a devil's advocate, would you have anything on your mind? That is, you're saying the engineers are already smart enough, they had the incentive, so if they're not using it, it's probably not because they're dumb, right? Is there anything else apart from them not having the role model or just having the bad experience that you can think of?
There's habit for sure. Humans, we don't like to change.
Yeah.
And so unless there is like increased pressure, like if you like what you do today, like there is always some habitude to get through. Yeah.
And apart from the habit, you haven't gone through any pitfalls. So that leading by example, having the culture supported and everything, that was enough for you.
So I think that there were some good points in the previous talks that there's some parts of the work that you like, and then there are some that you don't. And so if you don't like reviewing code, and there's more code reviews, you will like not like. But then the part is okay. So how do we approach not only of writing code agentically, but also reviewing? How we can significantly simplify and improve the code review experience, and then actually you start liking it again. And so it was for us to figure out these key moments as well.
Yeah, thank you.
I can just do it. Just another reason is pride, right? I am great engineer. I don't need any fucking AI. I can do it myself. I can do it better. That's my experience. And that's biggest downfall. Simple pride. The real is what is it?
Yeah, I think that's where if you have good leaders that showcase this, like there was Linus Torvalds or DHH, like some of the best engineers people are looking up to, they will say, hey, actually it's great, and now using it. So that helps a lot. And so also in your companies, if the best engineers, you have the staff, principal engineers that should build their whole career about writing great code and architecture are now using it. That's helping a lot, yeah.
Okay, school, my turn. I want to ask about cultural things during this transformation. Everything is moving fast. You're building champions. Obviously, champions are building some tools. There might be some ego, some competition, or maybe they're sticking to these things that they build, and these things become obsolete. How do you deal with that on Ford level, like cultural level?
I'm not sure if I understand the question. So ego in terms of
Oh, I built this tool, let's everybody use that, and somebody else built another tool, and in a month Anthropic says, oh, this is now built into our tools and just use it. I work at Oracle, we're a big company, and I see a lot of stickiness to what engineers build and try pushing that instead of using like some standard solutions which appear. Do you had this problem? How did you do all that?
I think our culture now is more about the learnings, and many solutions don't stay around very long. And I would even say that's the case for our AI product. So we've been building it for a year. We rewritten it completely from scratch for the third time now. And so there is always, okay, so we build it, you learn it a lot, and you say, okay, that's great, but there's actually a way how you should build AI products now. So let's start again and let's rewrite it again. And so there's a lot of like, at each step, we want to learn as much as possible. And those learnings are staying with us, but there's always new solution that's
So there is no competition kind of inside. Yeah, this. Thank you.
My apologies. My apologies. We are a little bit out of time. Nevertheless, again, big applause for Dan.